Haymaker Emily here, otherwise known as That Mom with a Laser, and recently I had a massive wedding sign that I had to make within like record speed. So to do this, I did a couple of different things. So if you watch through the end of the video, you're really gonna learn a ton. I had to use my pass-through, but I couldn't use print and cut like I did in this video here. And I revisited one of my best viewed videos, and that is how to paint fill acrylic. You can watch that here. But I learned a couple of new tricks thanks to my community, and I'm gonna share them with you throughout this video. So are you ready? Let's go.
Before we get started here though, I do want to point out a few things. Typically, it takes me a couple of weeks to get all of this footage edited and go through it all before you guys can actually watch it and learn from my process or what I've learned. If you want to be with me in the moment as I make projects like these, then you want to make sure that you're part of my Facebook community online. It's an incredible community, and that's where you get real-time updates on whatever it is I'm working on. It's also a really great space to get connected. You might feel really lonely doing your laser work. Nobody around you, I'm sure, understands. But when you get connected here, it's a really great way to network and learn what other people are doing. So, for example, in today's video, I'm going to go through my tried and true method that you can see, has been very successful for a lot of people. They love this method. But during the process, I also learned from Maria Kennedy. Once I was done with this, she does another method. So I went ahead and I tested that, and I'll show you what Maria does at the end of this video. Lastly, it's also a really great place to get help sometimes. I really was not supposed to take this order. We desperately tried to find somebody maybe with a UV printer that could pull this off. Shout out to Jeff Gorwitz from Custom Laser Engraving. He really went out of his way to help me find a UV printer in my area. But in the end, I ended up having to do the job, and that was fine because now we're here with an awesome tutorial together. So I just wanted to make sure that, I thank all of the community members who participated in this journey with me, and make sure that if you're out there and you're alone in Laser World, that you know that you're not. Just come and join us over in my Facebook community. Lastly, I just want to take a moment to, one, thank all of the community members who did try to help us find somebody local to do this job. And even though we weren't able to, I do want to thank Megan Norwich for the order. And boy, do we have a great story to tell about this sign, don't we? All right, guys, that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and jump right into the tutorial. Thankfully, the file was provided to me. Just a note, if you're ever working with a wedding planner, make sure that they're not building out the file in Cricut Design Space, because you can't export an SVG from Cricut Design Space. But with that said, the file was ready. So my job was really to engrave it, assemble it, cut it, put it together. So what you see me doing here is basically setting up the beginning of my job. I need to score the pattern on the top of the acrylic piece so that I know where to place my acrylic, and then I can move forward.
Alright, so I have a unique situation here where I am trying to use my pass-through because I have an oversized piece of acrylic, but I just realized I can't use targets, or I can't score targets onto this sheet of material because I need the exact piece of material that I have, and I'm working with acrylic. So it's like the sheet is exactly the way that it needs to be, so I can't score targets onto it. So I have to kind of get crafty here, and this is how I'm going to attempt to tackle it. I would love to see how you guys would tackle something like this. So what I did is I used the tool layers, this one T1 right here, and I created a box for the top half of my sheet so that I can score these letters on. I have the output deselected because I only want to score. And I'm going to select just my top layer, my tool layer and my score line. And I've set it to a top right origin because I know that if I set my dot size right at the top right of this piece of acrylic, it will fall centered right there where I need it instead of having to measure and like mark it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this to, I'm going to switch my top tool layer to a cut line because I want to see where this position would fall when it frames it. So I'm going to send this over really quick. Oh, I have to turn on the output there. Okay. And I'm going to grab my little Sharpie here and I'm going to mark the bottom right corner when my laser turns. And hopefully this makes sense to you in a few minutes when I actually try to execute it. So I'm just going to frame it. I am not going to run this job because I don't want to cut off the top half of my acrylic. If I do that, I'll be in trouble. So I'm going to send this over. And now I'm going to go over there and frame it.
What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to catch where the laser turns on the bottom right so that I can mark that position on my acrylic. And now when I run the second half of my job, I know where to start from.
Okay, so my plan is going to be, I'm going to score this, then I can take this whole thing and shift it up on the laser bed like this and hope and pray that it all lines up, and then I can go ahead and engrave that. Whew. Okay. Let's pray that that's how it goes down. So I'm going to change that tool layer back to red. I'm sorry. I'm going to change that 02 red layer back to, let's see if I can grab it. No. All right. Let's just deselect this. I just want the red. Line 2. Okay, so I'm going to make that a tool layer again. Put it to show. Make sure I have my output for my cut off because I'm going to cut this acrylic later. Grab all of the top here. Send that to the laser, and the only thing it's going to do is my score line. All right, so send. Let's go.
Okay, so now that I've scored where the gold mirror acrylic cut pieces are going to go, now I need to shift the whole piece through the pass-through so that I can engrave all of those names. So what you see me doing here is just that. I'm shifting it upward, and then I have to make sure that I have it perfectly straight. So actually, it worked out great. I just ended up using the bottom of my honeycomb tray to make sure that the acrylic was flush with the edge and basically straight. So now I'm using my handy dandy remote to line up right on that mark that I made earlier, the top right corner of the bottom half of my file.
Okay, so the hard part is done. Now I have to shift it all up. Let's do that. Just want this. Actually, it's okay. Okay, so I'm shifting everything up. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the output for my blue tool layer, T2, and I'm just going to make this T2 also because I don't want to see it and I don't want it to run anymore. And this is my top there. This is all I need now. And if I select it all and I have it set to a top right origin and I've already marked it on my acrylic, then it should score everything and engrave everything just the way that I need it to. Okay, so I'm going to send this over and I'm going to frame the job again. And in theory, it should be all beautifully lined up. So I'm going to go back and check that.
All right, so now that the engrave is finished, I'm going to go ahead and seal the engrave with what I like to use. My favorite tried and true has been Rust-Oleum clear lacquer. Actually, one of my very first early videos is actually one of my best performing videos. You can go ahead and watch that. And this is where I basically learned that if you want to paint fill acrylic or anything really, it's really best to add a sealant first, because then it kind of protects, it stops the paint from bleeding through the masking tape. So that's what you see me doing here. I'm going to first apply lacquer, and then I'm going to let it completely dry. Like, I prefer to let it dry overnight. Unfortunately, I was in a rush, but thankfully it had enough time that I let it dry for like 5 hours, give or take, and it was thankfully completely dry, and I was able to apply the paint later that night.
Okay, so I have to get this sign out by tomorrow, or else it's not going to get to its destination in time, and I'm too nervous about waiting. I have to get it done. So I sprayed the lacquer around 4 o'clock this afternoon. It's now 9 p.m. I came back to the warehouse. I'm going to go ahead and paint. It's totally dry. I'll show you guys in a few minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and, where am I looking? I got this new camera and I don't know where I'm supposed to look. So I think, there we go. Where was I? Oh yeah, so I'm going to paint fill everything so it has plenty of time to dry tonight. Then all I have to do is peel it and stick on the acrylic. So I'm also going to go ahead and cut the acrylic while I'm painting, and hopefully I can get this out first thing tomorrow and breathe. So time to cut some acrylic and do some painting. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm taking acrylic paint. This is just craft paint that I've had for years. And I like acrylic paint because if it messes up or if there's leakage, then I can just scratch it off. It's not like oil-based paint that will not come off. And then with a paintbrush like this, I am filling in the engrave as best as I can. And I'm kind of pushing the paint into the fill because I don't want to have any like missed spots, right? I don't want to peel this off and have a missed spot and then have to go in with like a teeny tiny brush and fill it up. So that's it. That's what I'm doing. And squishing it in there, and then that's it. Then I will let it dry overnight. And hopefully tomorrow when I peel it all up, there will be no issue. Now, I did cover it with lacquer first. I let it dry completely. Usually I like to let it dry like overnight, but I'm down to the wire here and I only finished the engrave like around 3:30 today. And then by the time I was done spraying it all, it was 4 o'clock. So it's only been drying, the lacquer's been drying for 4 hours, but it is fast drying lacquer, and it felt pretty dry to me when I came back at like 9 o'clock at night. So we're going for it, and we're gonna pray that it was dry enough to not be an issue when I peel it up tomorrow. Where did you find those? I think I already put them on my Amazon store. Go check. You know, like must-have laser supplies. It will probably be there. Otherwise, I will, if you remind me, text me, I'll send you the link. But if you just look up like rivets, it should come up. Because, you know, there's a lot of pluses about moving into a dedicated space, you know, eventually after several years working out of my craft space. I wanted to show you an example. This is one coat, and you see how there's still, like, you can tell that there's spots where I missed the paint. And then over here, I did a second coat. Let me fix that lighting. And then over here, I did a second coat, and once it was dry, I gave it a second coat, and you can see there's no, you know, little gaps. So it definitely looks like 2 coats is the way to go. All right, so it is the next day. It's 8:30 in the morning, and it's time to peel off the masking tape, and then I have to glue the acrylic on. And then we got to ship this baby off to its destination. So let's go. All right, wish me luck. Oh gosh, please don't let this be a pain, but. A couple of notes here. So some masking tapes are more stubborn than others. This one was fine, but I just want to point out here, you see me using a plastic razor. I love these things. I either use this or specifically Gorilla Tape to peel up the masking tape, but I only had like 2 hours and I was all out of Gorilla Tape. So here I am mostly using my plastic razor to peel everything up. All right, so as you can see, I'm using a plastic razor. It's a little dirty, but my good friend Megan from Miscellaneous Methods, she told me they use baby wipes to just clean that up, and it works really great. So we'll do that.
after I'm done peeling this massive sign.
Okay, so I realize this is upside down, but it's the only way I can reach this part of the sign and get it in the camera for you. So just a trick, if you end up with this mess, see all these little bits and pieces of paint? I have this 3M tape. I don't know how well it would do with Gorilla Tape, but this is working really well. So I take the tape, put it over the section, and to clean it up, I'm using a squeegee to like press it on, and it cleans it up without it getting too crazy. So just a trick there. If for whatever reason you're cleaning up and you've got paint everywhere, this is a nice clean way to get rid of it. See? I feel like I'm waxing someone. It's just like going to go get waxed. Voila. Check that out. Isn't that nice? Nice clean cleanup. And then if you still have spots, that's when you can take a baby wipe. I have a baby wipe, thanks to my friend Megan from Miscellaneous Methods, and a paper towel, and you can clean it up like that. But you want to be careful because if you touch the paint on the words, it will streak, which we don't want. And that's why I like using the tape to clean up. So, tape and baby wipes and paper towels, and you've got yourself a fixer-upper solution if you find yourself in that situation.
Okay, before we move forward, I did mention to you at the beginning of this video that one of my Facebook community members, Maria Kennedy, shared that she uses a different method, and that is using a chalk paint pen. So I'm going to pause here and show you the method that she suggested. I just did a quick test on it with a piece of scrap acrylic. Now, I do want to point out that you do not need to paint fill an engrave on clear acrylic. That engraves beautifully. I don't know why that's the first thing I grabbed. I just looked for a piece of scrap, and that's what I tested this method on. But what's more important is that you see that there are different methods that you can test and try yourself and see what you are most comfortable with. So here is my quick test using Maria's method.
All right, so according to Maria, you can take a chalk marker just like this from the dollar store and paint right on the acrylic. I feel like I'm going to go through this thing so fast already because it's like eating it up. But okay, let's see how well this method works. Some people seem to like it. I don't know. This feels kind of messy to me, Maria. I don't know. This feels really messy, but she says you take that and then you can wipe it right off. So let's see. Shut the front door. Stop it. Okay. And I bet this would work better on like non-clear acrylic, but you've got to be kidding me. Like, I got lazy there, but this is actually pretty freaking decent. So let's say you mess up. You can go back, I'm assuming, and it's not that big of a deal to fix. Shut the front door. I mean, you're gonna go through like 1,000 of these, but this is actually way faster. What? Stop it right now. Stop it right now. Well, guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you stayed until the end, thank you so much. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and comment below. Let me know what you got out of today's tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you guys here soon over at That Mom with the Laser. Bye, guys.